Okay. Figured out how to do the hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Love Bay Radio. We are here speaking with myself, Lyon. I'm your host, and I am sitting here with Abia Graham, and I'm very excited to introduce this young person to you today. But I'm going to save the announcement that we have for you. It's just like any other day here on Voices of the Millennials. We're going to be speaking about elevating ourselves through conversation and finding out about Abia and her breakdowns and how they've led to her breakthroughs and her personal journey in becoming the person that she is. So, just to give you a little bit of background on Abia, she's a motivated scholar who's pursuing her doctorate in pediatrics. And she founded the school club Fuel for Thought, which showcases her commitment to fostering intellectual curiosity. Beyond academics, she's heavily involved in her community and she supports charities as well as her school initiatives. And she's also a grad from U of T. So we're going to find out a lot more about her journey as a scholar. And she's really eager to bring her skills and dedication and passion for medical science to make a positive impact on the lives of children across the world. So today I'm so excited because as some of you may know, my background is also in health and wellness, and I've started a lot of initiatives that are around, helping people to make a positive difference in that industry. And so I'm really excited to speak to the future of that industry with us today. So, Abia, thank you so much for being here on Voices of the Millennials. How are you doing today?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be a part of the Voices of Millennial. I'm very excited to get into discussion with you and continue.
All right, blessings. So, as I was saying, you have a very extensive background as a scholar. You're pursuing your doctorate in pediatrics. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started? How did your interest start in academics and because being in the medical field takes a lot of dedication, I imagine. And so I would love to know what really sparked your interest in this field and kept you going all the way to get your doctorate?
Well, I started my interest in pediatrics and science in second grade. I was always put into positions where I was helping the helping the caregivers with the little children, and that's because my school was a bit different. It went from ages like 2 all the way up to grade 8, so I would make sure they're okay, help them, and to continue that into home life. I was taking care of my nieces and nephews. For example, like my nephew, he's premature, and I would help take care of him. And I knew when he was in the NICU, he wasn't treated fairly and properly as he should have been. And to speed up, because you know how there's so many babies coming in the hospital and they need room. So to speed up his process, since he was premature, they would give him powdered formula, and that ruptured his intestine. So yeah, so he went through a lot of complications, and the nurse would make passive aggressive notes like he's not going to make it through the night, etc. So that really solidified and fueled my aspirations that I already knew what I want to do, but solidified even more for me to actually pursue it. So that's one of my main fuels of going towards my doctorate to specialize in pediatrics. Another motivation was my family. They always instilled in me excellence, continue, continue, continue. And actually, the power of the word and the power of your mouth and the tongue is actually very important. Because my mom, she would always say, "You have the spirit of excellence." She spoke it into me, and I actually won the award of excellence in education across the PO board, and I appreciate it so much. So that's little steps of how I got there.
And there's a couple of things that you said there that I really want to put a pin in, which one of them is about all the awards that you have recently been able to acquire. That's actually how we first got to know each other. Abia was the winner of Love-Based Scholarship at our Be the Light Summit. It was a youth summit that we had back in the summer, and I was hosting, and that was the first time that I got to see this young individual who is doing so much in her community, and in her academics. And then another thing that you had mentioned as well is that, you really used this experience of something that can be seen as a breakdown, like this, what your cousin went through, and having a family member who people are not treating fairly, and then not having the power maybe to do anything because you're not in the industry, but then you use that as an opportunity to really overcome this opposition, and now you will be a part of making sure that something like that never happens again. So really, really excited to speak to you, and I'd love to know, what are some of the what are some other possible like breakdowns that you might have had along the way of trying to get to your PhD, because that's a big feat, and I'd love to know where you're at in your journey in achieving that goal.
Okay, so right now, where I am at of achieving that goal is now coming to an end, where I have to apply to universities and to get into that position where I could be in the position to get my PhD. So a number one struggle for me was doubt. Teachers doubting me from grade 8. They told me not to go into academic. They said go into applied, and they
Mhm.
pushed it and they pushed it. In every academic class I was in, teachers questioned me and said, "Are you sure you want to do it? Why are you putting yourself through all the strain?" And one teacher told me I should pick a new career, and she said, "Have you ever thought about politics or just other careers that had nothing to do with getting my doctorate?" And she also told me that I should not even take chemistry in my 12th year, which is my last year, which would automatically cancel me out for even applying to universities that would accept me for chemistry for that, because it's a prerequisite. But
Mhm.
honestly, I showed myself in grade 12, and she was immediately surprised. And after that, she was the one who actually took time to tutor me, and she even wrote a recommendation letter for me for scholarships, which, yeah, was very valuable.
Wow. Wow. And can you talk a little bit about how were you able to transform her perspective of you? What was it that you did that made her change her mind about you?
Honestly, I showed her dedication, because the word of mouth doesn't mean anything unless you put work with it. So once
Mm.
she saw me working hard, I would every single day, I would go into class, I would be there early. And if I wasn't early, I would make sure to make up for it by going to lunch and spending my whole lunch, even after school, getting help with science. I would make sure I would email her and make sure she knew this is the time I want to meet and this is how when I want to do it. And when she saw the initiative I was taking for my own studies, she was surprised. And she said, "You know what, Abia, I'm going to take this further, and I'm going to tutor you outside of school for free." And she did that for 4 days. And I took my test, and I was the most confident I've ever been. And you know what? I went from a 50 in grade 11 all the way up to an 80 in grade 12. And I'm trying to go higher.
Amazing.
Mm.
Let's go. That is amazing. Way to transform that breakdown. It's really interesting, the story that you're telling. I had a very similar experience in high school and was discouraged from pursuing the medical field as my career choice. And unlike you, I took that route. I was just kind of like, you know what? They just keep saying that I'd be better suited, being in, yeah, they said public speaking actually. Not to say that they were wrong. I'm not saying the teachers were absolutely wrong about that, but I'm so proud of you, like for really dispelling the narrative and showing them what it takes. Because, and for any young people that are out there listening, I hope that you're taking notes, because that's why I asked you that question, because I really wanted to know, what did you do to transform somebody else's thoughts about you? You can't really control other people, but you can control what you do, and it really shows great initiative, the steps that you took. So thank you so much for doing that for the future generation, paving the path. And are there any things that you are up to currently, other than our announcement, which we're going to make a little announcement, so that everybody knows what Abia is going to be doing next? But what are you doing other than what we have to announce in your life right now, and what are you working towards? What are some of your goals and aspirations?
Well, currently, I'm still running Fuel for Thought at my school. So I'm working to build a more cohesive environment. I know you've already addressed that. I'm also the right now I'm the student representative on my school council. So that I've put a lot of time into, and honestly, my post-secondary applications. That's what's been taking up all my time right now. And
Oh, yes. When are those due? January or
Jan,
February?
January and February. Yeah, the
Yeah,
latest is
I
I think.
remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh boy. So which actually I'm curious to know what schools are you applying to and what programs are you hoping to get into?
Okay, that's a very good question. So
Yeah, anything that you do know, no pressure.
my number one choice is McMaster's, and that's because they have a large Black population. And when I went there for in grade 11 for a tour, they're very welcoming, and it was very lovely to be there. And then my second choice is Queen's University, and that's because of the environment as well. Although it's there's not a lot of minorities there, they are trying to make their way and come up, and they have different um, what's the words opportunities for minorities to help boost them, as they say. And my third top one is U of T. Those are my three choices.
Okay, okay, that is amazing. Those are all amazing schools. They are the top in the country, and I hope that every single one of them accepts you. So you have a really hard decision to make after that. And I'm sure with the grades that you've been talking about achieving, that you will get there. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you get that PhD and helping to transform healthcare, especially for minority communities. That's amazing. And so we do
Yes.
have a little bit of an announcement to make because, as you can see, Abia is an amazing, very bright star in our community and has been with the Love Bay family for over the last year. I guess it has been, or at least, yeah, over this last year. So we're really, really excited to announce that Abia will be not only co-hosting tonight's show, as you see the lovely title there. She's going to be co-hosting. We have another guest that's going to be joining us as well with another inspiring tale, and we're going to have another elevated conversation. But before we get to that, Abia will also in 2024 be taking over for Voices of the Millennials as the new host. Yes, give it up out there in Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube is watching us right now. And we're streaming in 135 countries here on Love Bay Music Talk Afrobeat Radio. And I'm so excited to be passing the torch. It's really an honor to do that. And so we thought it would be fun because nobody ever interviews me. I usually interview myself. So Avia came up with a great idea. Why doesn't she interview me and ask me a few questions about how I got here? So go ahead, Abia, you take it away, and I'm going to be the guest.
Yes, thank you so much. I'd like to thank you for passing on the torch. I'm very grateful to be able to have this opportunity. So thank you.
You're most
Um,
welcome.
so the first question I have for you is, can you describe STEM Works for those who may not know what it is?
Yes. So STEMworks is an organization that, or a program that I started with the Black Physicians of Tomorrow. And that is a group of students that, interestingly enough, why we started that group we started it at the trying to remember the name of this campus now. They changed the name of the school like 4 times, but it's out in Oshawa. The University Ontario Tech is now what it's called. And so we started a group out there that was centered around helping Black students specifically to be able to advance into careers in post secondary that would lead them to becoming doctors, medical professionals. Because of the fact that we found the exact same experience that you were having, Abia, unfortunately, and that I had also in the 11th grade. For biology was the course that my teacher said, I don't think this is for you. I think maybe you should try to downgrade or maybe just don't try to be a doctor at all. And so when I got to, this was my second time, like going back to school. And so this time I met up with this group of students who were very serious. They were all Black students, and they decided to start this group to help Black students to never go through that experience again. And when we were all done our respective programs, I was taking exercise science at the time. And then we decided that we wanted this to really trickle down into high school so that the experiences that we had, we would not have. So we started that in university and college. We decided to bring it to the high school level and bring it as a tutoring and mentorship program, and tutoring grades 7 to 12 and helping them to bridge the gap, all the knowledge gaps, helping them build skills, not only academic skills, but life skills as well, pairing them up with mentors, and really driving home the fact that representation matters. So having Black tutors or tutors that understood the culture and how to have that Afrocentric lens when they're teaching. And we ran that starting in 2017. And then because of the pandemic, we turned it into an online tutoring program. And we still pair up tutors and mentors to get, or students and tutors on a case by case basis now. And we're currently looking for additional funding so that we can start that program up again.
That's amazing. That's really really great. I wish I had that. Like it's a nonprofit organization, right?
Yes, and not sorry, not for profit organization.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it is. And we really started it. It's also, as you said, to that point, it's free tutoring as well.
Yeah.
And we give like free breakfast, free life skills workshops. We did dance workshops, African drumming, all those kind of things.
Wow. I want to join. I'm gonna join. I'm gonna. That's amazing.
We need to start it back up. So that's why I had to plug that we are looking for additional funding now, because we got a grant to be able to do that program for 3 years. We were able to stretch it a bit because of the pandemic, but now we are looking for additional funding so that we can bring it back to the same level that we were able to before.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. That's a great initiative. It's yeah. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you for asking me that question. That's a great question.
Yes. And then just one more question for you.
Mhm.
Um so how do you ensure the voices of the next generation are actively included in shaping the future after um, winning or being given the title of Canada's top 100 Black women to watch?
Yes, thank you so much. So that was a really big honor that I received in October of this year. And so for me, what that award really meant to me is that things you mentioned before, Abia, about having a lot of doubters or naysayers, and then even just internal doubt. I had a lot of internal doubt growing up. And that award was like an arrival for me, being able to show myself and other people that I am someone that is worth looking out for, because I am doing things in the community. I've always been doing things in the community, but not really promoting myself doing those things. And I've realized that when you do that, all you do is really dim the light for everyone around you. And so when you shine at your brightest and you're letting folks know what you're doing, it really does help others to feel empowered to do the same. And so winning that award for me, that's what it really is I just more visible to girls that look like us, so that they
Yeah.
can see that they can do this too. Because I think that because I didn't see a lot of people like me at that time, when my teacher in the 11th grade told me that I don't think that being a doctor is for you, that I believed her, because I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me being doctors, and it was very slowly the mentorship programs were coming up. I was actually in one at that same time, but it was, I guess for me, I'm like, what is a path of least resistance? And I didn't want to be met with
Mhm.
so much doubt and people that didn't believe in me. I'm happy to say now that I was able to infuse myself in a community where I was able to overcome some of those doubts. And that's really why I'm sitting here today. And even though I did not become a doctor like I thought I was going to be, one day maybe I'll get my PhD. Like I think about that too. But what I really, really am so happy is that I get to be the person that tells people that you can do this. Like whatever that dream is that you have. I also wanted to be a host, so I'm doing that now. I want to do a lot of things. Yeah.
That's
So
good.
yeah. that's my advice, honestly, to anybody that's sitting out there thinking that one thing that I would love to say is that everything is temporary. Like everything that you're going through that you think is that you are at rock bottom, my mentor told me that that's the best place to launch from. So
Exactly.
if you have hit what you think is rock bottom, then that's actually a great place for you to be, a great place for you to start over, to start again, to start over with experience. And that's why I really love the conversations that I get to have here, where I get to speak to people about how did you overcome that breakdown and break through to this new perspective, which usually I find most people, it's because of the way that they were thinking at one time. And when they transformed that thinking, they were able to break through.
Yes, the mind is very, very powerful. The word of the tongue. Yeah,
It
very.
is. It is.
Um, one more question for you
Yeah.
is, sorry. Okay. One more question for you would be, growing up, like you said before, you always had it in you that you wanted to be a host.
Mhm.
So why was that put into your heart?
Yeah, great question. Why did I want to be a host? I really love knowledge. I love explaining things, and I love to know why and how things are and why they exist in the way that they do. And so I think on this quest for knowledge, similar to you, like I'm a big academic. I love reading, I love researching, and I found that hosting was a place that I got to bring all of those things that I love together. It finally was a good, like it made sense for me to read a lot. It made sense for me to be writing a lot. And as I go on in this journey and really explore what it means to be a host, I'm finding more and more that the things that I love the most, writing and researching, I get to do it a lot in this job. I get to meet really interesting people. And that was one of the reasons when I used to watch people like Oprah and Tyra Banks. Those were some of the people I watched growing up doing hosting. And I love that they got to, every day was a new thing. Like, even though you're doing the same job, but every day is this new experience. You get to learn something new. And I felt like it was like an ongoing school, but on, in front of an audience. Another reason is because I was a bit of a class clown all my life growing up, especially in elementary school. And I always enjoyed having an audience, like someone to bounce all these ideas off of that I was having in my mind. I always had these creative thoughts going, like, this would be a good story for this, or this would be, and I was always acting out things and doing voices. So I love performing, and there wasn't a lot of spaces to do that when I was growing up. And most of the time I was told to sit down and be quiet, like by elders. Almost
Yeah.
everybody, especially, I don't know if what's your background, your cultural background?
My dad is Bayesian and my mom's from Jamaica.
Yes, so West Indian background, Caribbean, and so I'm Guyanese, and I was told a lot to sit down and be quiet, mind your business.
Yeah.
Um, then when they would send me to my room though, then I would have my whole show, like me and my dolls and all that stuff. So um it was a trade-off. It was a trade-off. That's a great question. I think that's really why I love hosting. I love meeting people. I love having new experiences, and I feel like hosting gives me an excuse to do that. Like I don't have to create it. It just comes to me. I like that's the point of my job, is to create these fun experiences.
That's very true. Yeah. It is really fun because you get to pick people's brains, get new perspectives. It's exciting.
Yes, exact. Honestly, the new perspectives, the amount of gems that collected, even from doing this show. I was thinking about it because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like my last episode. Oh yeah, everybody, this is my last episode on Voices of the Millennials, not on Love Bay. I'm going to be going on to another show, which stay tuned for that in 2024. But I was thinking about that, and um I was just thinking about all the different advice that I now have, and someone gave me an idea of like turning this into a book because I write books as well. And so, yeah, turning these transcripts into a book. So these will all my interviews. I do interviews on so many different platforms. I'm gonna put them all together into one book. So I'm working on that coming out in
That's
2024.
amazing.
Yeah. So all the
Wow.
best of, everything that I only could have had that if I had these conversations with people. So, and I guess I could talk to people just regularly, but I find that these platforms, everybody comes to the table with an understanding of, yes, we're here to talk about our lives.
Yeah,
And, they come with mindfulness and it's a directed, curated conversation. So I just find there's less conflicts because I don't like to get in arguments with people really about what they
yeah.
think, but I like to talk to people about what they think. So I think hosting helps to make it a safe environment.
Okay, I have one more question for you. I know I said that a lot of times, but I just have a
No,
question.
keep on coming with the questions. This is your job now. This is all you,
Okay,
boo.
okay. So I remember when I was in grade 10 and I was doing spoken word. I had a
Ooh,
yes, I was given the opportunity for my teacher, but my teacher, he was a white man, right? So
okay.
he asked us to do poems, and I made my poem about my complexion, and I
Mhm.
said and I spoke on it, and one of my key words, one of my key catch for or the phrases, the catch was and her, oh, and her, right, to make sure that you catch it. But he said he didn't understand the poem, he didn't get it, it didn't make any sense, and he gave me a C for it. So I just want to know how since you
Ooh.
yes, so since you
Okay,
just spoke
sorry.
as
Ask the
well,
question.
yeah. So how to spell like have you ever faced any boundaries, or the same way have you been doubted in the medical area of grade 11? Were you ever doubted with your spoken word?
Yeah, great question. So, I took a really long time to even tell people that I did spoken word. And I guess because when I was growing up, the things that I wrote down in my diary, there wasn't a word for it. I didn't think it was poetry because what I had learned about poetry in sixth grade was like Shakespeare and sonnets and
Mhm.
similes and metaphors, and none of them sounded like what I was writing down in my diary. But I knew that there was like a rhythm and a cadence to it. Like sometimes I would perform it, I would make it into songs, but then sometimes they just wouldn't fit as songs. And I just couldn't figure out what is it that I'm writing down. So for years, I just wrote down things like sometimes at the end of like what I was talking about, what happened to me today, I would
Yeah.
suddenly like make it into a rhyme or something. And then I wouldn't know what it was that I was doing, wouldn't know. And then eventually I met up with this group of poets and they snap their fingers and everything and they do the ums and the ahs and it seemed like TV. And then I started to realize when other people started sharing their work that, oh, I'm writing spoken word. Um, so I would say that I didn't really bring it out in an academic space. But when I did bring it out as an adult, there were places that I tried to bring my poetry that it wasn't received as well. And I do think that unfortunately, it was in spaces where the organizers did not look like us. There's so many open mics that are around, but not a lot that are designed, to really for the culture. They're not for the culture. They are for the masses. And then I don't think our voices, they are marginalized because we are a marginal part of society. That being said, we have experiences that I think everyone can relate to. Feeling othered because of anything, be it the color of your skin, to me, like anyone could understand that. And it's such a shame to hear that that person told you that they would give you a C for creativity. Like,
Exactly. It's
how do
career
you
writing. It's
I
so
wrote
sub
the poem, so I should get like, wow, wow. But this is the reason, honestly, thank you for sharing that story because it just reinforces why what I do is important. Because sometimes I wonder, I'm like, and running arts programs important? Like, I wonder sometimes I think about it. But now when I hear young people like you, or just people in general, myself included, who felt silenced, who felt like they didn't have a place, they couldn't even put a title on what they were doing. They were expressing themselves creatively and know where to put it. And I can't imagine what would have happened to me, or actually, I can't imagine, because there were times where didn't have any place to put it, and then it would come out in a negative way. So I really think that giving people this space, it makes for a better world. Um, and the times where, so there was one time I could say that, sorry, to really answer your question, one time I could say that it wasn't like, it was someone that looked like us actually,
Mhm.
that made me feel a little bit silenced, or like I shouldn't go on in doing this.
Wow.
Because, yeah, I know. So sometimes it could be your own people.
Well, yeah.
Yes, and someone told me once that skin folk does not equal kinfolk. So just because you have the same skin, it doesn't mean that we all have the same experience or really understand each other, etc. So that being said, this person told me one time after a performance that I really needed to work on my cadence, like the way that I say my poems. And they
Mhm.
had been coming out to my shows for months and saying that they supported me. Um, and I even came off the stage that day and said, like, yeah, I really need to like work on that one poem because I didn't have them memorized. These were
Mhm.
things that I was working on, and I was a brand new poet, but not new to running poetry events. I had been doing poetry events for years, not sharing poetry, just organizing. So people just automatically assumed that I should be good, like, I guess. And so I was trying to just like get it out there finally, get over my stage fright. Like, I'm shy, I know. Doesn't seem like it, but I am very shy. And yeah, this person kind of killed my confidence with that comment because it wasn't feedback that I asked for, and they made a really big deal about giving me the feedback. They're like, "I really have to tell you something because I think you should know that like your cadence is off." And I was like, "I know that, and also why are you saying it like that?" And it
Yeah.
just so many doubts in my mind. I was like, "But what about that show when you said I was good and that one?" And I'm like, "Was I really good?" And I'm like, "I need to not listen to anyone but me." And so that's what I learned from that experience.
Very.
Yeah, that I'm not gonna give up. Like, it it did kill it hurt me though, like, because they were a supporter and it felt nice to have somebody in the audience that was always like, rooting for you, but I realized that I needed to be my biggest supporter, and that it doesn't matter if there's one person, no people, like, I have to remember why I'm there, and for
Exactly.
that day, I was there to practice, and for any other day, I have to remember my why.
Yes, that's a big thing. Remember your why. Why are you doing it? That's like, I think, a top motivational speaker's um comment towards people, like, why'd you start? Why are you waking up in the morning? Like, what's your why? Which is very powerful.
Absolutely. Honestly, one of the individuals that I work with, that's a question he always asks the artist before our open mics, and or before
Yeah.
we do any event, and it really does spark such great motivation in people. It really does motivate them towards something. And when
Yeah.
they get down, when you're just like, "Wait, I want to go home," or like, "Why did I come to work today?" Then you remember your why, get through the day, maybe with a smile. Maybe with a smile.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting, well, actually, do you have any more questions for me? I love your questions.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate that a lot,
I
actually.
do.
Um, Maybe not a question, but a request.
Yeah.
Would you mind? I don't know if you're up for it, but would you mind saying a spoken word, maybe a short piece?
Oh, wow. That's a you girl, this
For
is
your last
y'all are
debut.
in good hands, okay? You're in very good hands, the voices of the millennials. Okay, so a piece. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is a piece I don't think I've shared on the show before. So, this one is called Making Lemonade.
Okay.
I am making lemonade. I am taking bitter situations and replacing them with sweet affirmations. I am no longer putting up with any hesitation. I know I'm good enough. Great is my designation. Learned on the journey, which is the destination, and the price has gone up. I have some stipulations. I am no longer begging, pleading, or chasing. So miss me with the negging, demeaning, and wasting of my time, energy, and so their placement in my mental space, it becomes vacant. No longer blatant, disappears and it erases. Bittersweet is this proclamation. Life will give you lemons, you decide their limitations, and whether or not this will be a validation of how far you will go in your imagination, how high you will reach is within your delegation. Will they stay lemons or will you manipulate them? See them as they are or as they can be created. We are lemons from seeds with potential for greatness, breaking through rock bottom, making it out of dark places. And it's only because it's sour that we know what the sweet taste is. Taking the good with the bad is how we can face it, doing all that we can to try to embrace this. So take all the shade and make lemonade out of everything they gave. Stay in your tower and do not cower. You're the queen of the kingdom. Bloom like a flower. That's
That was
it.
so good. That was very, 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 very good.
How was my cadence on that one?
Very good. And you made sure you kept looking at the camera. You had it memorized.
Yes, that one is like in my heart. It's also a song. Like I made it a poem and a song. So that was the poetic version of it. Thank you so much for that question.
Yes,
I
you're super.
love that. That was awesome. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm so
perfect.
happy to perform that on here. And look at us, we're right on time because we have another special announcement for y'all. Not only am I passing on the torch to Abia, but I thought that it would be great if right now, while I'm still here, that we interview our first guest together and end off 2023 really strong. So we have with us an amazing individual that is going to come and really, I think, elevate us in conversation today. This individual, Willie Gakunzi, and I hope I said that correctly, you can let me know, is an
You did.
author of a new book called When Light Fades Away, Hope Remains, and also works within the banking industry. So, a creative and a business owner, what an amazing way to end off our 2023. That's who we love to talk to right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And you are here with me, Lyon, and Abia Graham. And Willie, welcome to Voices of the Millennials. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, better than I deserve. I like to say. I heard that saying from um, Dave Ramsey. He always say better than I deserve, so I adopted that. Thank you for having me. How are
Yeah.
you?
Very, very well. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to speak to you today about your personal and professional journey, especially about the breakdowns that you have experienced in your life and how you've been able to time and time again transform them into breakthroughs. And you really are a person, I think, that is able to see opportunity in opposition. And these are the topics that we love to help elevate our audience. And so I think we'll just get started about, the book that you wrote. I had an opportunity to read a little bit of it. I am going to be getting that book after. You all should too. Your journey is amazing. But I thought that it would be great for Abia, our new host of Voices of the Millennials, to start out this interview.
So thank you, Miss L. Hello, Willie. How are you doing?
I'm good, Abia. How are you? Happy to be with you here.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm excited to ask you a few questions. So the first one would be, Willie, as a former refugee, how was your journey? Sorry, how has your journey reshaped your perspective and expertise in banking?
Oh, that's a great question. How do I answer that? So, yeah, as a former refugee, I followed what you were discussing, being discouraged, being labeled as not equipped to follow a certain career. So my journey started. So I was born in the Congo, former Zaire, and a lot has happened. I won't go into details because I want everyone to get this.
Yes, I was going to say, if you read the book, though, he talks about it
Yeah.
all. I
So
love it.
I have it all. But finding myself in Europe, in the Netherlands, as a refugee, a country that not only was different from culture and all aspect of the whole society, but it was a different language, Dutch, a language that I've never heard of. So I wanted to do pharmacy as a study. That's what I was doing back home, but I couldn't do because it was only taught in Dutch, and I had to spend at least 2 years learning just Dutch and then study for 7 years to earn my master's and later on do a PhD. And then thinking about that, I was like, I don't have that much time. So I deviated and went into economics, which uh, led me to go into banking. And fast forward, I really did face a lot of opposition, discrimination during my job search. I do remember one day, and I stopped there. I was in an interview. We were seven candidates. I was the only one looking like myself, and we did series of exam tests. First round, I passed. We did two interviews the same day, and then the second round. So we were selected four. We were seven, three were let go, so we were four, and I was the only one who looked like myself. So during the interview, the hiring manager told me openly, he was like, Willie, you know what? You are all great candidates, but you will have to do extra than the rest because this issue of diversities and all that. Some of our clients are not there yet. So I was like, what do I have to do? Have I answered the questions? Did I not satisfy? He was like, no, you did well, but I just want to be frank with you. So I understood that I wasn't going to make it. So yes, it did. But what helped me was, I think, Elle, you mentioned something, the mindset. So, what impacts us is not really the event that we go through or we experience, it's the meaning we attach to that. So,
Mhm.
whenever I face opposition, that to me fueled me to do more. I didn't want anyone to dim the light within when I knew I can make it.
That's
Yeah,
very, very inspirational. Yeah.
I'm very
I,
inspired as well.
yeah,
Especially
from
with like everything you've been through. I just wow. And you're still smiling so bright. I must say, all of us, our smiles are great. If anyone notices, like we have
Thank you. Oh, we all have. Oh my
I
goodness.
had to say it. I'm like, I was thinking about that today. I was like, I've noticed more people with spaces and I'm more comfortable with my smile. That was a thing that like kept
Oh,
me
that's
back when I
great.
was younger. So yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
and just another question for you, Willie. Can you share a key takeaway you hope readers will find in your recently released biography, When Light Fades, When Light Fades Away, Hope Remains?
Oh, one is I believe in love. Love is possible, and love wins. Secondly, I believe that any setback can be used as a foundation to build a strong hold for the future. And third, I believe in daring to persist. Whatever happens, whatever comes your way. Unfortunately, the reality of life is that we go through high and lows, right? Whether we like it or not, we fall in love, we will have some breakdown, we will lose our loved ones. It's a sad reality, but how do you resolve and compose yourself to pick up your pieces is really what matters. So one will be laid off, and they found that as an opportunity for a better uh, career ahead. And another one would sit down and say, oh, I'm done. They discriminated me. I can't make it. So that brings you like down slope path. I think that those are the main lessons really there. to pick up your pieces. Yes, go through the grief and loss and whatever it is, but resolve to dare, because out there, opportunities unfortunately won't come to find you. Hardship will come your way, but
Mhm.
opportunities, you have to go to find them out there.
That's
It's
really
very
nice. I agree.
Yeah,
honestly, I like to keep in my back pocket. Your attitude is your altitude. Yeah.
Yes.
that's so true. That's so true. That's so true. It is. It is.
That's all
Um,
we really have sometimes.
honestly, it is self motivation, self talk.
Yeah.
Um, question I had for you as well is how do you start your day, your mornings? I know sometimes I like to have my book of affirmations and I write down what I want my day to look like for clarity.
Whew, that's a good question. I actually have which chapter was it again? So I have in chapter 7, I
Mhm.
have my daily routine there. It's a
Oh,
it's a table in the book, and you can go to the website of this book and download that sheet. So I have like um, a bulk of, so my time is divided into bulks. So I know, let's say in the morning what I do. By the way, I'm a believer. So in the morning what I do, I take quiet time to meditate and pray about my day ahead. And I hydrate in the morning. When I wake up, I hydrate, then do the meditation, just thinking about the day ahead, and just affirm, realign my thought. Right, I have a few quotes in my room. One of them, it's from, I think it was TD Jakes who said that when you speak without being offensive, and listen without being defensive, and always leave your opponent with their dignity, even when there is no resolution. Leave your opponent with dignity. So I read those every morning. Another one I like is, help me, God, to walk slowly enough to experience your love and love people deeply. So those few affirmation quotes do help me to realign my thought. And then once I start, I know what to do. So I will let you go through the book, but I
Yes.
have a bulk of hours, what I need to do, when I need to do what. Exercise is a very big part of it, right? To just keep motivated, but also speak positivity into your life.
Wow. Those are great affirmations.
yes, I really, really love those. I really appreciate your how you're able to keep your attitude at this altitude, um you know despite some of the things that you have gone through. I would like to know, because I didn't get that far in the book, so maybe this is a spoiler alert. I don't know if he's going to tell us, everybody, but I have a question. I do. I would love to know, how did you make it from being in Rwanda to getting to the Netherlands? I know that, first of all, you had moved from Zaire, which is now known as the Democratic of Congo. You and your family, through many trials, finally made it into Rwanda. And then from there, you somehow made it to the Netherlands. But for me, that just seems like so mind blowing, like for you to move from there to there, having been through warfare in your home country. So I would love if you just share a little bit about that, just to really inspire people, because coming from North America, we don't experience that. And I think that we get down on such little problems here, that we need a dose of reality. So I'm so glad that you're here to share this with us today.
That's a very good question, L. So how did I make it? So I think there is somewhere in the chapter you read, when there is no hope around you, you really take risk. Uh, Rather, when there are no opportunities around you,
Hmm.
you don't selectively choose what you want to do because you're looking at getting a better um, opportunity elsewhere. So what I did back then, it was in 2003, I believe, if I remember correctly. Um, I attended a conference, and through that conference, I got an opportunity to go to Europe,
Mm.
where I would claim my asylum. And but from there, I think what the biggest lesson I want, especially people in North America and in the West in general, no one chooses to leave their home country because they just want to go.
Yeah.
If I had a choice even now, not to sound that I don't love my country, Canada, I love it so much, and there are so many opportunities. But I wouldn't trade my village back home with the life in Canada.
Yeah.
That said, because of the reality again, um, you kind of forced to look the other side because you want your people and your generation, your children to have better opportunities than what you have had. I don't know if I answered you, but
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
short,
No,
that,
that's
that is really the core message. And and what people don't understand, and I will pause there. I have a master's in international economics and business. I run a big service here in Canada, in North America, where we serve all the big banks, right? I pay high taxes. Just thinking of that, I feel like, oh my goodness. So when we see people coming in, it's not because they just want to come in. They want to not only make it, but they also want to contribute. So that's something that is not really paid attention to. People tend to just look, oh, these are coming from uh, blah
yeah.
blah blah.
Trying to get all the
The
opportunities.
you
Yeah.
know the crisis we have nowadays in Toronto, especially with the housing for immigrants and refugees. Uh, those are human and they deserve better. Those are smart people. Those are smart people. They're doctors, bankers, businessmen and women. So and everyone in Canada is an immigrant. So
Yeah, we
we
all are. We all. Me too. Like.
it's
Yeah.
just the timing that is different. But
Exactly. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I was wanting to know, what do you currently work on now? Which you are, in the banking industry providing these services for the major banks. That is amazing, especially like as we can see from your journey. It doesn't, I think that was in your chapter as well, that it doesn't matter where you come from. Like you can supersede any circumstances. Like, a seed, a flower comes from a seed, fruits come from seeds. So it takes a lot to break out of your circumstances, but you can be something quite beautiful. And we're so glad that you shared your beautiful story with us. And if you want to know more about Willie's story, you have to read the book, When Light Fades, Hope Remains. It's a really gripping tale. There's so much more that happens in it, but you have to read the book. I'm not gonna, but I'll speak to you after, Willie, because I'd love to know more.
for
Um,
sure, for sure. I mean,
for sure, we'll have a part two. As everyone heard, I'm going to be graduating onto another platform. So I would love to have back some of the guests. And Abia, I would love to have you on the new show that I'm going to be graduating to as well.
Oh, wow.
Yes, of course. You better come through. Tell us all the amazing things that you're going to be doing. And I thank both of you for being here today. This is our last episode of 2023. So this is a very iconic and historical episode right here on Love Bay. And we have run out of time, like we always do. It's always a matter of time. But we will be back in 2024 with more episodes on Voices of the Millennials, hosted by Abia. I'm trying to like do
Thank
the,
you.
I
Oh,
always get messed up. It's the mirror.
transition.
It's the
It's
mirror.
okay.
Yes, but thank you both for joining us. Before we get out of here, what's one thing that you're both looking forward to for the holidays that you're going to be doing over this time? Maybe we can go with Willie, and then Abia, you can end us off.
Oh yeah, so many things. So with the book, I did have a book launch in Toronto last Sunday, which was
Yes.
amazing. So I'm now working on an event in Ottawa and Edmonton, and then Europe and Africa. So that's what is keeping me busy. But I took some time off. I'm relaxing, doing nothing really, just take it in easy and enjoying with the family.
That's very
We love
nice.
it. We love to hear that. How about you, Abia? What are you doing?
For the holidays, what I'm planning on doing is spending time with my family, along with getting all my sub applications out, because there's a lot, and I have to make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
that I'm reading them and proofreading, because they're due January. Like, one's due January 3rd, so it's a lot.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty
Go for
soon.
it,
That's
girl.
pretty
You
soon.
will. You are smart, and never
Yeah.
let anyone talk you out of your dream.
Thank you so much, Mr. Willie. I appreciate that so much. Really,
Yeah.
thank you.
And that's for everyone out there who's listening here on Voices of the Millennials. Never let anyone talk you out of your dream. Keep on believing in yourself that you can overcome any obstacle. Keep on searching for those opportunities and keep breaking down until you break through. All right. Peace and blessings, y'all. We are getting out of here.